Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is a very exciting video because I'm going to be talking about my top 15 books I read in 2024. I did a poll on my Instagram asking if you would rather see me do a ranking of all the books I read in 2024 or my top books of 2024. And the top books of 2024 won that poll. If you would like to follow me on my Instagram, my TikTok, I have my Goodreads account and everything that I'm going to link all of that in the bio. So let's hop into my top 15 books of 2024. These are in no particular order, and also I'm counting if books are within the same universe, same series, that counts as one. So let's get started. So this one is a big popular series that's on BookTok and Bookstagram. It is the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. Specifically, my two favorites are Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. So Yours Truly follows Jacob and Brianna, and they're both doctors in a hospital, and they kind of get off on the wrong foot. It's kind of like a rivals to lovers trope, but then they start writing letters to one another and they do a fake dating, and you really get to know these characters so well. And Jacob is a great mental health representation. He's such an introvert, and I feel that on such a deep level. I relate to Jacob so much, and I truly loved him throughout this entire story. I highly, highly recommend. Then, Just for the Summer. This book was one of my favorite books of 2024. I rated this 5 stars. I loved it so much. I love the story of this because basically it's about two people where everybody they date, the next person they date, they end up marrying. So they decided to meet up and date each other. So then hopefully when they break up, they'll, meet the love of their lives. This book is just so heartwarming, and there's deeper themes within this. You explore family dynamics, and there's also a flamingo floaty, but I'm not going to spoil anything. But Justin Dahl is the love of my life. I love him. He's such a great MMC. And Abby Jimenez has a way of writing her MMCs just so well, and you really just can't help but fall in love with them. But I highly recommend the whole entire series, but Yours Truly and Just for the Summer are my two favorites. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Who knows? I hope that's the right way. This is a romantasy, enemies to lovers, witches book. So basically it's about a witch hunter and a witch. This witch is undercover, basically, and living like a normal person, in this realm. And she can't help but fall for a witch hunter. And he is trying to catch the Crimson Moth, which ends up being the FMC. This book is so good, and it's such a great book for beginners that are just getting into fantasy. Like me, I'm not a big fantasy reader, but this book right here, I truly enjoyed, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out in the series, Rebel Witch. I can't wait because I'm not the best at having patience when it comes to books and series, but this book right here is so good. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, or Poston, however you pronounce her name, is a 5-star read for me last year. I was a little nervous going into this book because it was such a hyped up book on TikTok and Instagram. But to me, this was 100% worth the hype. It's magical realism. It deals with a magical apartment. So Clementine moves into her aunt's apartment, but it's always set 7 years in the past. And that's where Iwan comes in. Iwan is this up-and-coming chef, and they start to fall in love in this apartment because he lived there 7 years ago. It's such a beautiful story, and you kind of see how they grow together as characters, and you go back and forth in timeline. So you're 7 years in the past, and then you're 7 years present day. It's such a good book. I read this really quickly, and there's so many quotes, and I love that Iwan is a chef because that is a dream of mine. I would love to be a chef or a baker somewhere, but Iwan is top tier book boyfriend. Now, another top tier book boyfriend is from Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is an accidental pregnancy trope book, but I know a lot of people don't love accidental pregnancy. I actually tend to enjoy it. Well, the ones that I've read at least have been really good. Bo is such a golden retriever, and you like can't help but root for him the entire time. And this has disability representation. The author, Hannah Bonham Young, it relates to Winnie a lot because she has like the hand disability, just like the main character does. And it's so beautiful, like their story, and it's funny, and like it's just, I really ate this up in a day. This book is such a good book. I highly recommend it. Is When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. This is a second chance romance. I love a second chance romance, especially if it's written really, really well. But this is beautiful. It's about Danny and Kalia. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But it's about like Black people in like the film and movie industry out in LA. This is just so beautiful. Like you really root for them, and then you kind of get to know why they broke up in the past, because they met in college and now they're finally back together, and she's working on his new movie that's coming out that's about his parents' love story. And you really tend to understand like why they broke up and why she is the way she is and why Danny is the way that he is, and you just can't help but want them to be together at the end. I highly recommend this, especially this is a debut author's novel. It's such a good book, and I can't wait to see what Maya Ariel comes out with. And next is the first book in a series that I read. It's a young adult series, and I loved it so much, especially if you're a big fan of Criminal Minds, you're going to love this series. And it's The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's very, very similar to Criminal Minds. It's just with teenagers. So basically all these teenagers come together in DC, and they basically solve cold cases. They all have like special abilities. Some people are good at telling lies. Some people are good at profiling others. Like, this is such a good book. It's the first book in the series. It's a 4-book series. I haven't read the other 3 yet, and I heard that it gets even better than the first one. But it was so entertaining. It kept me on my toes, and the plot twist, it definitely got me at the end. I was not expecting it. But this was a great read for me. Next I have is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Again, another second chance romance book. I love my second chance romances, I guess, in 2024. But it's basically about 2 authors that kind of write about each other within their own books. And it deals with a lot of dark themes, and it's a very deep, emotional story. And I just can't recommend this book enough. If you're really into like deep emotional romances, this is the book for you. And I can't wait to read more books by this author because I've heard nothing but great things about her writing. Next is The Wedding People by Alison Espage. I hope that's how you pronounce her last name. This is more of a general fiction, contemporary fiction book. Basically, it's about a girl that's going to, take her own life. And she basically is the only guest at this hotel that's not part of the wedding. And you kind of get to know like the wedding party and the bride and learn her backstory as a character. And this book was so deep, so emotional, but also it was funny at times. There were times with the banter with the main character and the bride that truly cracked me up. It's just such a good book, and I highlighted a lot of stuff in this book, and there's just something about it that I always think about. You just learn about life and love and journey of self-love. It's just truly an amazing read, but do check your trigger warnings because it does deal with some dark themes as well. This book right here, it has a special place in my heart. It's a young adult book, but this book is so deep, and it's Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is a 5-star read for me, and honestly, I fell in love with Noah Riley in this book. So it is more on the young adult side, but does have some spicy scenes, so just be aware of that going into it. But Noah Riley is top tier book boyfriend material. When he loves hard, and he will do anything for the people that he loves. Learning about his story with his mom, I fell in love with this character so much. And then Ariana was just a great FMC. She does go through a lot throughout the entire book. I'm not going to spoil anything because something big really does happen to her, and it changes the trajectory of this book. But Honestly, this book made me cry, especially towards the end. It's just so heartwarming. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Right, next is a book that is a hit or miss by some people, but honestly, I read it so quickly, and it's The Teacher by Freida McFadden. I am a huge Freida McFadden fan. Her books are very easy to read, and I love thrillers. I love a good plot twist at the end. This was a 5-star read for me. The Teacher's plot twist, that still sticks with me to this day. Like, I was shook when I read this plot twist. I remember where I was reading. I was on the way to go see my best friend in Boston. I was on the train reading this, and my jaw dropped to the floor with the plot twist. This book was such a good book. And honestly, if you're a beginner to thriller, I highly recommend Miss Freida. She has so many amazing books out there. I know her writing style isn't for everyone, but her books help me a lot, especially if I can feel myself getting into a reading slump. Freida is that girl. I have another Freida McFadden book here, and it is Never Lie. I love this book so much, and this plot twist also shook me to my core. I was not expecting it. It's kind of like a winter cabin fever type of thing. I highly recommend reading this in the wintertime because it's set in a snowy kind of atmosphere, but you tend to, like, it's just such a creepy, creepy vibe. You follow basically this couple. They go see a house, and basically it's an old psychologist that used to live there. And so she kept all of her tapes from her clients, and the wife keeps listening to them, and you really start to uncover some secrets here. And it's such a good book. The plot twist, I'm telling you, 10 out of 10 on the plot twist. Next is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is an age gap, forbidden romance, ex-boyfriend's father trope. I wasn't expecting to love this book as much as I did, but there was something about my boy Pike Lawson that roped me in. I love Pike Lawson, and honestly, I can't wait to read more books that have this kind of trope in it. I tend to love like an age gap romance, but this book, like the forbidden behind it and the fact that it's the ex-boyfriend's dad, I highly recommend it. It is spicy. There are some spicy scenes within it, but it's also a slow burn. So you don't like get the characters together for quite some time. They don't really get together until like at least halfway through or a little after halfway through. Such a good book. Highly recommend it. And it's not going to be for everybody. Next is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is another dark romance book. It's basically the second book in the Never After series, and the Never After series basically focuses on a dark retellings of fairy tales. This one is a dark retelling of The Lion King, so it's basically from Scar's perspective. So you kind of have that kingdom, and like you learn a lot about Tristan, who is the Scar character, and why he is the way he is. It is a slow burn. The characters don't get together for a while, but there is that tension that you feel from the beginning. Highly recommend this book. This is my favorite book in the series so far. I am going to try to finish this series this year because I know she just came out with Hex in 2024, but this book right here is so good. Next are two books within the same series, so I'm going to talk about them separately. The first one is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I love this book a lot because you deal with another accidental pregnancy. Like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, but there's something about Theo and Winter. Their story is just so beautiful, and it's kind of like in rivals to lovers, you know, like one night stand kind of thing. But Theo is such a golden retriever, and this man, you can't help but to love this man. This man does no wrong. Theo and Winter just have such great banter, and I love how sassy Winter is and how she cares for people. And, you know, just seeing them explore the relationship that they have with their daughter is just truly amazing. And I love seeing all the found family from the other books in the Chestnut Spring series. This book is just such a joy to read. But now my favorite book in the Chestnut Spring series, Heartless by Elsie Silver. This one is a grumpy sunshine, age gap, single dad and nanny trope. Cade Eaton is the love of my life. When I tell you this is my number one book boyfriend of 2024, this man can do no wrong. This man can do no wrong. There are scenes within this book between Willa and Cade that I always think about, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is a spicy read. Elsie does have some spicy reads, but this book right here was a perfect mix of spicy and romance, and you really get to know Willa, and Willa's my favorite FMC throughout this entire series. She's blunt and not afraid to say what's on her mind, but she cares for her friends and her family deeply. I love her so much, and I love her relationship with Luke, who's Cade's son. Luke is such a bundle of joy throughout this book, and you love to see how much of their relationship grows with Willa and Cade. It's just highly recommended. I highly recommend the whole Chestnut Spring series as a whole, but Heartless and Reckless are my top 2 out of that series. And now onto the last book in our stack. It is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is a well-beloved book throughout the community. This is a second chance romance. Macy and Eli, you can't help but root for them. You learn about their childhood and how they grew up together and how they became friends and everything. This book is just such a joy to read. And you learn about why they didn't end up together. I love this book so much. I still think about it. I do plan on rereading this in 2025, and hopefully I can annotate it, because as you can see, I have no annotations in this book yet. And I plan to annotate it very heavily when I reread it. If you would like to see a vlog on that, just let me know in the comments. But I can't wait to dive into this book again and dive into this world again. So that's it. Those are all the 15 books that I enjoyed in 2024. Like I said before, there were so many great books I read in that year, and I can't wait to see what 2025 has in store for me. If you want to follow me on any of my socials, I will link all of that stuff in the bio. And what kind of videos would you guys like to see from me in the future? I do have some reading vlogs planned, and I'm super excited for those. But if you have any videos you would like to see from me, just let me know in the comments below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.